Recently, Yerevan and Baku made a statement that the peace treaty negotiations are finalized. A few days later, though, what seemed like a breakthrough quickly took on an ominous form. Amid international community praise and support for progress in peace, Baku reignited blames against Yerevan for alleged ceasefire violations. European Union mission along Armenia-Azerbaijan border refuted the claim of shootings. The border is calm, they said. No unusual activity observed. Experts fear that by accusing Yerevan of ceasefire violations, Baku sabotages peace and might even launch an aggression to reverse the peace process. Baku cut off slices of Armenian land in 2021. Internationally acclaimed mapologist Rouben Galichyan sits down with the voice of Yerevan to nail down internationally recognized Armenian borders amid expert warnings that Baku might resort to use of force to avoid signing the peace treaty. Dr. Galichyan, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for inviting me.
It is time to establish facts. Slicing out pieces of Armenian land is what Azerbaijan does, and for this matter it is very important to establish the territory of Armenia with extreme accuracy. Pashinyan's and the authorities' estimation is 29,743 kilometers. Is this accurate? What's the basis of this estimation?
It is accurate. It was accurate in 1995. It was accurate in 1980s. It hasn't changed very much. But it wasn't the same in 1920s. In 1920s, the territory of Armenia was 30,948 square kilometers, according to Soviet maps. But it's another story. Pieces of Armenian land were handed over to Azerbaijan during 1920s and 30s. Eventually, we ended up with 29,743 square kilometers drawn on Soviet military staff maps, detailed maps of Soviet military staff. These maps are not available for everybody to see because they on the top, it says secret maps. But some copies of those have been, somebody had put on the internet, and I was lucky enough to find out where it was on the internet, so I copied them all. So I have the Soviet secret maps that were supposed to be only for the eyes of the irresponsible people. That was put on the internet, as I said. On those maps, you can see the detailed markings on the borders. And that border, it shows 29,743 square kilometers. But it is not the same now, because since May 2021, Azerbaijan has taken territories from Armenia, and Armenia hasn't militarily reacted because of the escalation into a war, etc. We always said that let's be careful not to start a war. Let's see what's happening.
More than 200 square kilometers of Armenian territory are under Baku's control. But Yerevan has stated more than once at the highest level that they do not see use of force as a solution. Demarcation and delimitation is Yerevan's key to unlocking peaceful coexistence. "215 square kilometers under Azerbaijani control of Armenia proper." Is this accurate?
It is more than that. It's 240 square kilometers are the heights that Azerbaijan occupied in Jermuk, in Shorja, in Black Lake, and other places.
Let me clarify. Within internationally recognized Armenian territory.
Yes, internationally recognized Armenian territories are the maps of 1991, Soviet military maps, that we became independent according to those maps. Those maps have been signed, stamped by Armenian and Azerbaijani authorities. Those maps, on those maps, these 240-50 square kilometers is inside Armenia. But today, Azeri forces have occupied those regions, and President Aliyev has claimed a number of times, wherever my soldiers stand, it is our land. In other words, they're claiming that this is their land.
And despite international calls for withdrawal from the European Parliament, France, Iran, the United States, the Azerbaijani forces have maintained their presence.
Yes, not much pressure has been exerted on Azerbaijan regarding withdrawal from there because it's in the agreement. So, unfortunately, Mr. Aliyev, until last year, a year ago, he said the Almaty protocol, which refers to those limits, those borders of 1991, we don't accept it. And then suddenly, under probably Western pressure, in January 2024, Mr. Aliyev announced that, yes, he agrees to abide by the protocol signed in Almaty. According to that protocol, the Soviet military maps are active, are the final drawing borders.
A segment of Armenia-Azerbaijan border has been demarcated. Is this the map used for the demarcation? The military Soviet maps, which are mentioned in Almaty Declaration?
Yes, it is the Soviet military section maps.
That Aliyev said he would abide by.
Aliyev, he said he would abide by it because at the time we had advanced into small area of Azeri territories to make sure that our road is not, and drivers are not being shot at from Azeri side. And then when we came to the discussion, we decided that there will be a border, secure border with not military forces, but border forces, border keepers. In other words, when that came, and the present 12 kilometers of the border that has been demarcated and delineated, these are according to those Soviet military maps. However, it's only about 1% of the whole length of our border with Azerbaijan. 1,000 kilometers. These 12 kilometers have been demarcated. The rest is still subject to question. But when Mr. Aliyev said that he will abide by the Almaty agreement, it means that he has agreed to withdraw his forces from the territories that he occupied inside Armenia since 2021, May of 2020.
The international borders are legally well established. There is no doubt about this, and that is why, to prepare the ground for aggression, Baku resorts to claims that the Armenian side has been shooting because of the lack of legal grounds to do so. To leave no stone unturned, I went further and asked the internationally acclaimed mapologist, is there Azeri land under Armenian control? According to the maps that, one more time, Aliyev said he would abide by.
Yes.
Mr. Galichyan, is there any Azerbaijani land under Armenian control right now?
At this moment, there's a small piece of Azerbaijani land in our control near Voskepar village. And that the reason
But this is the demarcated area, isn't it?
No, it's just outside the demarcated area. Then it hasn't been demarcated because the Armenian highway travels 4 times into Azerbaijan and comes back to Armenia between the village of Kirans and Voskepar. Now, if we hand over this territory to Azerbaijan, our main road from Yerevan to Novemberian will be stopped, will not affected, will be not operational. Because that territory, that road enters Azeri territory. Now this is the second phase of the Tavush region that they are going to discuss. There are ways and means of resolving it. And the easiest one is that the piece of land that as Armenian road goes through Azerbaijan, it is not very much, it's maybe about a few square kilometers, that Azerbaijan gives to Armenia. In return, we give back Azerbaijani equals land somewhere else.
And this is according to OSCE guidelines, am I correct?
Yes, this
for
is
demarcation.
OSCE guidelines for demarcation, because we have to sit down and talk about the human rights of the people living in the area. Now, Azerbaijan has also the same problem. A part of Armenian land that Azerbaijan has occupied north of the Berkaber reservoir, there is an Azeri village near there that the road to Azerbaijani villages passed through Armenian territory, which is now under Azeri control. Now we can give this road access to Azerbaijan, that piece of road, the land to Azerbaijan, to have an access directed with their own village. Instead, we can take another piece of land where our road enters into Azerbaijani territory. This is exchange of territories, equal-sized territories. This is a normal practice during delimitation.
The truth and nothing but the truth. OSCE guidelines clearly state the mechanisms for resolving border disputes with adherence to human rights. Is this Baku's plan, though, or a pretext for protracting the possibility of rapprochement? Is the plan? Let's wait and see. The Armenian authorities clearly see demarcation and delimitation as an extra tool for security. What does international experience show? Does a country become safer after its borders are delineated and demarcated? And does it apply to Azerbaijan, if yes?
It does apply to Azerbaijan as well as Armenia, yes. Because both countries will know where their borders are for certain. You see, I'll divert a little bit. When Azerbaijan attacked Armenia in 2021, we asked the CSTO to help us protect our land from Azerbaijani attacks. And they claimed that we are not aware where your borders are, therefore we cannot do anything else. This is not the real truth, because the border had been drawn by Moscow themselves.
So this was just a pretext?
For CSTO, this was a sort of a pretext to say that the border is not known, because Azerbaijan at the time had said 1991 protocol, we do not agree. Now, if we have to come to agreement, delimitation and then demarcation, then Azerbaijan and Armenia will sign both, and we'll know where the border is. Who has ingressed into the other's territory, who has not. As I said, Azerbaijan has taken up Armenian territory, something like about 240, 250 square kilometers of heights. But in addition to that, in Tavush region, they have taken some 80, 90 square kilometers of agricultural land from Armenia. They have to return that as well. So it's over 300 square kilometers land that they have to give to Armenia. And this is very, very difficult for Aliyev regime to convince his people to give this land back to Armenia, which they have occupied for the last couple of years or 3 years. Therefore, in my thinking, Azerbaijan is not going to accept any time this peace agreement, because once he is at peace with Armenia, he has sort of lost his reasoning of staying in power, because he needs contradiction with Armenia, his rhetorics, demanding land, demanding this, that, the other from Armenia. If he signs the peace agreement, his demands will cease. But he needs this demand for his own people, as fire needs oxygen. If you cut off the oxygen, then he doesn't have any real means of exerting to it, or showing his people that he is the all-powerful Mr. Aliyev.
How important is not violating human rights while delimiting and demarcating, if we look at international experience?
International experience, OSCE directive says that what you should do, not to do according to the human rights, to obey the human rights of both sides. And this is not very difficult for us to do, because we have not occupied any Azerbaijani land. They have occupied our lands. And if we go according to the international practice, then we have to be careful when we are taking territory from the others. Now we haven't taken any territory from others, except a bit that in Tavush that I said, it's subject to exchange, but Azerbaijan has. Therefore, if he goes according to that, he agrees to obey to the ceasefire and go back to Almaty borders, he has to hand over all these territories back to Armenia, which is very, very reluctant to do. If he eventually will do or not, I don't know. Perhaps he can sign the agreement and not give back Armenian land. What will you do then? There is no safety, security in securing borders. Borders are secured to tell everybody that this is the border, this is the accepted border. Azerbaijan has accepted, but Armenian has accepted. But to have security, you cannot guarantee security with a signature of an agreement. Your security can be guaranteed if you have equal military power.
How about international arbitration? Does it exist for securing, rather demarcating and delimiting borders?
Arbitrations, as you said, that the word means both sides have to agree to this. Azerbaijan has never agreed to any of these proposals. So what sort of
international mechanisms of securing it or bringing it
told
about?
Mr. Aliyev to open the road, Lachin Road, from between Stepanakert to Armenia.
Which they never did.
Against human rights, which they never did. International agreement that you have to honor Russian peacekeepers are in Karabakh to protect the safety, for the safety of the local people. And Azerbaijan had also agreed to that point for the Russian peacekeepers to be there. But somehow Russia helped Azerbaijan to vacate, to cleanse Karabakh from its ethnic population. It's not only international laws and international directives that are going to operate. Recently, Euro Parliament has instructed Azerbaijan to release Armenian prisoners at once. Will they do it? I doubt it.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Our conversation with Dr. Galichyan ends on a pessimistic note. Despite Baku's maximalist demands, Yerevan nods consent to the peace treaty. Amid Baku's accusations of ceasefire violations, the Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan reiterates his willingness to sign the peace deal. In a double post on X, he says, "I'm willing to put my signature under the agreed draft." Yerevan has asked for a date and time of signature. We'll keep watching events as they unfold.